Hit it, Phil.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La-da-da-da.
Stay tuned.
Right after this episode.
For our discussion.
A bit late, you know, almost when you introduced me. Well, let's say that bird act is just great, isn't it? Yeah, and the reason I was late, you know, the fellow who owns the birds, he said to you that a bird will bite you whenever he feels like it. So I held the bird, and the bird felt like doing something else. So it took you a while, and I'm here. How are you? It's good to see you again. I'm fine. Fellow my age. Yes, the day before, or yesterday, wasn't it? My birthday. February the 14th was your birthday. My birthday, that's right. Can I tell them how old you were? Well, the only reason I don't like to tell, I know you don't, is because I always kid about being 39. Well, if I kid about 39, and then I turn around and tell them my right age, 77, it's ridiculous. Don't you think so? I mean, I should... I had the funniest telegram. You know that this is the first time that I can remember telling my age. And I don't mind it sometimes, you know. But I had the funniest telegram from Mel Blanc on my birthday. You know Mel Blanc. Sure. And all the wire said was, if I've told you once, I've told you 77 times happy birthday. That's the other. Say, I want to ask you something. Yeah. Johnny, I want to ask you something. Now, I've been on your show, I don't know, would you say 15 times? Sure. I'm like, sure. And every time you introduce me, you never know what to say. You know, I've heard you introduce jugglers, acrobats, but me, bird acts. But me, you always say, what can I say about this man? Here he is. Is it because you're in such awe of me? Is it? Or you love me so much? I think that's what it is. Now, remember, must be something. Now, I've been in this business for years and years. There must be something. Something you can say.
Well, I think I get embarrassed. Now, remember 2 years ago, your 75th birthday party that I emceed at the one of the hotels here in town?
No, but what I mean, I gave you such a lavish introduction. No, you didn't. You did. You always say, what can I say about it? Till it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't have to say the world's greatest comedian.
Right.
You know, even if it were true. Or America's greatest comedian. I don't expect that. You could say one of 5 great comedians. Or one of 3. Or maybe one of 2. And you're conceited enough to know who the other one... No, I don't know that. No, but listen. Once, I gotta tell you something. Not long ago, there was a big dinner given to me by the television... Freddie, your producer, no, Television Academy, wasn't it? That's right. In fact, your producer ran this show. This is the producer who used to be my director, whom you stole from me. That's right. You steal everything from me, my wall, your wall, everything. Although I stole my wall from Loretta Young, so that made any difference. So that doesn't make any difference. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what this man did. It was a big dinner given in my honor by the Television Academy. And it being that I was the honored guest, naturally, I was the last speaker, right? And again, he got up. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, What can I say about this man? All I can say is Jack Benny. So I got up, nice reception, and I talked for about 15, 20 minutes. And I must say,
Wow.
Johnny, if you
Now,
remember, I
for
was in good
something very
form last
special,
night, wasn't I? Yes,
Kathy,
I
what
got
do you
a
have now?
lot of big laughs.
We've got a trailer.
And
for
when
our
I
upcoming
finished, I
episode.
sat down, got
Wow.
a nice
John,
ovation. I sat
do you
down.
like trailers?
What do you
Ooh,
think?
do
this man
I?
said? I'm not making
All
this
right,
up.
let's
What
see
he
it.
said right afterwards, with tears in his eyes. Because all the time I was talking, he was looking at me like this. And he said, after I sat down, he said, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't he wonderful? Well, everybody applaud. What can you do? You have to applaud, right? If you say, wasn't he wonderful? Then he said, you know what I was thinking? There were actually tears in his eyes. I was thinking, when Jack Benny, this great man, when he passes away, who's going to take his place?
You said, Bobby.
He wouldn't stop. He kept going, and the audience was crying. I didn't know what. He said, we all must go somewhere. He says, when this fine comedian leaves us, who will take his place? Well, I didn't know what to say. My wife was sitting next to me. I wanted to kiss her goodbye. And I wanted to say, Mary, please forgive me for all my sins. And I wanted to tell her how much I'd loved her for the 44 years that we were married. All he kept saying was who could take my place. Finally, I hollered at him. Johnny, I said, I'm not going yet. I'm going to play golf tomorrow. Let me play golf tomorrow, you know. And he said he was carried away. I got carried away, but all right. So you didn't have to carry me away. And he kept this up and kept, who's going to take my place? Well, I got news for you. Don't ever worry. No. Because Flip Wilson can take my place and your place and Bob Hope's place and Buddy Hackett's place and Jan Murray's place and Milton Berle's place and George Bird's. We gotta all go. So you and God get together and save Flip Wilson. All right. You take everybody but that. You don't have to worry about. I said, worry. Who's gonna take my? I'm going on for a long time yet. Oh, you. I knew what. Go on.
I did a murder. I've got to sell something here.
All right. You want me to take your place? For some people, a cough can be a shattering experience. Yeah, a cough? Now I'm scared.
We're back now. Don't you have a show, is it with Bob coming up, when, tomorrow or?
Tomorrow, well, if this show goes... Did you say something about being born or Waukegan?
Not being born, I'm going there on my first trip on the 7th of March.
What are you going to do in Waukegan?
I'm going to entertain a group of people for a company out there, Johnson Motors.
Oh.
Their main headquarters, I think, is there. I'll be there. Where should I go? Any good spots you can tell me about?
Well, I don't know. It's been so long, you know. I was born in Waukegan, yet years and years.
I thought I might drop by the high school here, the junior high, take a picture.
Do you know how long ago I was born?
Our rabbi was an Indian. Yeah, go see my school. I will. There's a beautiful school in Waukegan named after me, the Jack Benny Junior High School. And it's really beautiful. And the other two junior high schools are the Thomas Jefferson and the Daniel Webster. Then I'll go. Daniel Webster, Jefferson, and Jack Benny. Couldn't have better than Clayton, Jackson, and Durandi. say so. I mean, it's more important. I know you okay. We're starting to talk about the,
Yeah, is that what we told? Is it the special tomorrow night? The play's when? Wednesday night?
the special. Oh, no, before I forget. Yeah, I must mention this. Now, this show is on tomorrow night.
That is right.
Which means that we're really on now, Wednesday night.
Right.
Well, I got some tickets. No, I'll tell you what happened. Bob Hope and I are running a great big benefit in Santa Monica, see? And I wanted to make sure, because even though it'll be a packed house, there are a few empty seats. Now, this benefit is... No, this is the Los Angeles Music and Art School, and they're for kids, you see, who are studying music, singing, and Bob is also interested in that. He called me up, and he wanted me to run this benefit with him, right? See? And the tickets go up to $100.
Thanks.
Now, I got 6 tickets.
Six.
And if you like to tape, now, the tickets are nearly sold out, really. No, it's there are a few empties. That's why I'm plugging it. I want everybody to be there. But these tickets, the big tickets, are $100 a piece. And I got 6 or 4. 4, I think. And if you would like to take 2 tickets, that's still more money than I'm getting here. Or work, as usual. So these are $100 a ticket. You can give them back to me. You can give me the money later if you want to. Okay. One for you. Strictly. Want a ticket, Freddie? Of course. All right, here, floor. $100. Thank you, Jack. You're welcome. $100. $100 a seat. Now, if you want to go, and fine. If you...
Well, in that case, yes, sure.
He'll still know what I said.
Tell you, there's no problem for any ticket. I guess there's no price on the ticket.
You know what I just said? It's such a shocker. And today, with what you see in movies, and it isn't shocking anymore.
Even Love Story.
Nothing is shocking. You see nude people. I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. But you can bleep it out tomorrow if you want to. I'll know what I said.
Well, even Love Story.
I'll know what I am. Now, in the morning, and I have felt quakes before, and naturally, if anybody tells you he's not nervous, he's lying, as you know. And I was just lying there in bed, and I didn't know what to think. I thought all I could think of, is this it? Is this going to be the big one, you see? Because then when it was over, it lasted a minute, I think. Yeah. Then Mary ran into my bedroom, to see if I was all right. Mary and I have separate bedrooms. Now, Anyway, she ran into my bedroom to see if I was all right, and then we put on robes, and we went downstairs, and then all the help came in. We have 4 in help, and the 6 of us just sat downstairs, and we just talked about it. Then we had tea and cookies, like a party. Then when I went back to bed, I told the help that I would see him at the next earthquake. I don't know. We'll get together, band 2 all together for the next earthquake at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I want to tell you, that is a shocking thing. Do you know, I could get even with George Burns for everything he has ever done and said about me, now that you mentioned the earthquake, then I'll tell you what it is. First place, I want to pay him a compliment. And then I'm going to tell you what he did. No, I'll tell you why I want to pay George Burns a great compliment. I saw him on your show, when was it, about 3 nights ago? Was it? About 3 nights.
That was a repeat. That was a repeat.
And he's always deprecating himself. He's belittling himself. And he shouldn't, and I'll tell you why. He always tells you that if it weren't for Gracie Allen, he would have been nothing. He'd have been nobody. Now, this is not true. I know George Burns longer and better than anybody in our business. Because even though, and I'll admit, Gracie Allen was one of the great comedians of all time, with the greatest timing I've ever heard. But don't forget, George Burns ran the show. He was the producer. He was a writer. He was a director. He was an editor. He was a great straight man, a great comedian, had to put all this material together in order to make Gracie as funny as she could possibly be. Therefore, as much as I loved Gracie, and as much as I did appreciate her great artistry, I still have to say that George Burns would have still been a big star, would have still found someone to work with, would have still been one of our great, great entertainers in show business. And I mean that sincerity about George.
No doubt, because he goes audition. Now I'll tell you,
Now I'll tell you the silliest thing. Now I'll go back to how ridiculous he is. How silly. The other day, now this is only a week ago, there were about 6 of us having dinner in a restaurant, and Freddie DeCordova was with us. And we were having a serious conversation. Now I want to show you what can be in a man's mind. How ridiculous, how silly George Burns can be, and no wonder you have to laugh at him. We were discussing people who have worked for us, you see? And he mentioned a man that used to work for him for years by the name of Charlie Reed. And he's a fellow that worked for George Burns. And it was a serious conversation. Nobody was trying to get laughs. And all of a sudden, I made the mistake of asking a normal question, which you don't dare do in front of George Burns. All I said was, because I haven't heard from Charlie Reed in a long, long time. And I said, George, didn't Charlie Reed die? And he looked at me for about 4 seconds, and he said, no. Do you want him to? And I said, no. He says, if you want him to, I can call him. He's not doing anything. He said, I can call him. And he don't shut the, wait a minute, I want to finish this, so just take a second. He said, I can call him. And right now, if you want him to die, he's not doing anything. Maybe he'll do it for scale. And the next day, he had Charlie Reed call me to tell me that George told him I wanted to talk to him about that. And that's the silliest thing I've ever heard of him.
oh, that water. I'll tell you the other one.
That's wonderful.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I have my friend John Henderson with me. Hey, John, from This Day in Jack Benny, and temporarily the #1 podcast out there because mine's off the air for now. You're probably listening to this later and going, when was Buck's podcast off the air? But, you know, it's just one of those things. I'll figure out a way to get it back on. And we have Terry Phillips with us. Hey, Terry.
Hello.
So, it's great to see you, Terry, and we're here to talk about Jack Benny, of course, and Johnny Carson from The Tonight Show. So this one is from February 17th, 1971. And I don't know whether you're going to see the audio of it or we're going to do the present. I mean, we might just do audio. We might do the video. I'm not sure what we're doing. So any which way, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And well, let's go around and figure out what people liked about it and things. John, what stood out on this one for you?
Oh, this was a great interview with Jack Benny. And the stories were, Jack Benny's done a lot of live performances and things like that, but he kind of has some go-to bits. So if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all.
Yeah.
But when he appears on Johnny Carson, it seems like it's always something new and it's always interesting. And he's got almost like a different style when he's on that program.
Yes.
It's a lot slower, maybe because he's getting older, but it doesn't seem like he's trying to like really be like stage entertainment. It seems more like he's trying to have a conversation, even though he is telling a lot of these stories that end in jokes, and it works really well in these ones. I liked his story, even little things. It seems like things are just coming to his mind, like when he got a telegram from Mel Blanc, the birthday telegram, and I can imagine Mel Blanc doing that, and they're obviously true stories, so that's one of the things that makes it so interesting. I mean, the joke itself that Mel Blanc, said about his age or whatever was not that funny, but it was so delightful to see, how Jack perceived it and how delighted he was by it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I find over and over again. Folks do things to Jack and for Jack that seem kind of minor or don't seem that great, but the way he presents them and how much he enjoyed just people doing things for him and things, it would make you want to do things for him, one, and two, he was just so delightful with his presentation of it that it would make whatever they did even that much better or more memorable.
And I think with the wrong host, it might not work, because there were a couple places where it was a bit slow, like when Jack Benny is talking about his benefit and it's taking him a bit of time to get out there. And so it's a bit slow. He's building to something, he's going to do a joke at the end. I think a lot of hosts would either cut him off because it's not moving fast enough or try to add things in there. But Johnny is patient. He's interested to see where it's going to go, but he also does a couple things like mugging to the camera, which make it, it re-engages you and it makes it interesting again.
Right.
And yeah, it makes the whole thing work really well.
Excellent. Well, Terry, what did you think? What stood out to you?
John, I agree with you about the timing. I mean, we all know that was Jack Benny's strong suit. Mm-hmm. But Johnny picked that up too, and he did engage.
Wait, so
Jack.
Jack was known for his timing. Is that?
That's what I've heard.
Oh, okay. There's new stuff I learn all the time about Jack.
That's why we're here. We're here to teach. Today's comedy requires a punchline, bang, 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 bang. And it was one of the delightful things about watching this episode was how we got to take our time and enjoy this really deliberate conversation. I had to look it up because I was curious to know who the other guests were. And also on that episode were David Steinberg and Lily Tomlin. So that would have been interesting to see the rest of that, I guess. The other thing that happened, the other historical reference in this episode was the Los Angeles earthquake that had happened just a few days before. It was February 9th. It was 6.5 on the Richter scale. Ooh. And when Jack mentions confronting his mortality, because it was, if you were there at the time, and I was not in LA that day, but it was really frightening. And in fact, 64 people died in that earthquake, and a whole bunch of other people were badly hurt. But these historical moments that we get to revisit because of programs like this are interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, also, Terry, were you a correspondent at that point, or?
No. I had not quite graduated from high school in 1971.
Oh, okay. So what time frame were you kind of you were news correspondent for a while
I was a foreign correspondent in the late 80s and through the 90s. I started reporting in 76
okay.
locally.
Yeah. Well, neat. Okay. What a great career. I mean, we could spend a whole podcast just talking about you and your experiences, Terry. It's so yeah, it's your life is so
I can make stuff up too if you like.
yeah. That's all good. But no, it's just charming to spend time with Jack and Johnny as always,
And the
the time
earthquake.
frame they're in is such an interesting one in the 70s. You've all like we've said before, you had the moon launches that are going on at this time, and then on the other hand, you got Vietnam happening and so many things, and very soon you also have Nixon's presidency going off the rails, and just a lot of stuff that was happening in the early 70s for sure.
I thought it was interesting when he was talking about the earthquake because he mentions Mary and how she ran out of her room and he ran out of his room and things like that. And I just thought you forget when you're such big fans and you're watching the show that they're actual real people who have real lives.
Yes.
So when they mention a personal story, which they do, rarely, you're like, oh yeah, they lived together. They were people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And John, wasn't it cool to hear Jack say, we have two separate bedrooms. Of course, we didn't always have two separate bedrooms. He had to make it clear that they did sleep together.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about these Tonight Show interviews with Jack is that you get a lot of times a big piece of it is plugging something that's coming up. I mean, that's why they have people on, and that's why they decide when to have people and so forth. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's just Johnny wants Jack on for whatever reason, and that's great. But besides that, you get some of his personal life, some of where he's either talking about his grandkids or he's talking about Mary or whatever, and it's just neat to get a little bit of the curtain gets pulled back on Jack, and we're just so used to seeing Jack only as a performer and not as what Jack is and it's interesting too. If this was today, I would think maybe you'd get Jack coming on the show, and instead of being right on the couch with Johnny from the beginning, he'd maybe do a little stand up, a little, and then come over sort of thing. And I don't think he ever did that. I think it was always just him showing up as a guest on the couch and not doing any of his. I mean, he was beyond, he didn't need to do a bit anymore, but it would have been fun to see if there was an episode that existed where you got a little Jack Benny monologue thing and then he comes over and talks. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, he mentioned George Burns. It seems like he's often mentioning George Burns because he was his best friend. But I thought it was interesting to hear his sort of a professional take of George Burns, saying that, Gracie was sort of the star early on, and George says he wouldn't have been famous without Gracie. But I don't agree with that because he was such a great producer and he always made her look good. So I thought that was an interesting inside opinion, and also just like his, it tells how much he admired George Burns.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's always so interesting with his relationship with George Burns, and where one of his final acts was to drop out of Sunshine Boys, but really push to have George Burns take his place, and George does, and it launches George's second part of his career, third, whatever this re-energizes George Burns's career yet another time, and that resurgence that happens from Sunshine Boys pretty much lasts at least a decade, if not more, with films and things, but really up until the end of his life. It just makes him where he's just so well known. And as he keeps outlasting everybody and outliving everyone, I think it's like, okay, there's not too many people from that time frame left. And so I think he becomes more and more what he gets more and more notoriety as he goes because he's living for so long. And certainly at the very end of George's life, how they kept on saying, well, at 100 he was going to perform somewhere or whatever. But unfortunately, I think at 98 or 99-ish, his health started to go downhill where he wasn't going to be able to pull that off. Because he did live to be 100, correct?
I don't think so.
Well, maybe he died at 99. So I know it was close. It was like right in there. Yeah. I'm sure we're going to look it up and
we'll
tell you momentarily.
check our research team.
Well, he died in his 100th year. Yeah, he did. He was 100. I take it
I
back.
thought so. I thought he made it to 100 by a couple months or something.
Yeah. It was interesting that Jack Benny talked about his own mortality, but he wasn't going to die anytime soon. And of course, we now know that less than 4 years later, he was gone.
Yeah. But I'm just glad he kept so busy in that 4 years. I mean, we're going to spend basically our whole summer spending time with Jack in his final years, and he appears on so many different shows and things. I mean, and some of them are huge shows that he's on. I mean, Engelbert Humperdinck, that was quite the show to be on, I think. And that's coming up soon. So I hope you guys will enjoy our Engelbert Humperdinck presentation. Anyway, but there's so many things that happen. And right around this time, I think we already presented it. I think you already got Rochester Eddie Anderson on on the first episode, the pilot episode of Love American Style, and that's kind of cool that Eddie Anderson was out there doing things too. So yeah, and Don kept busy too. Don had his own show from Florida for a number of years that he was on that Florida morning show or something. So good for him. Yeah. Anyway, anything else to point out on this one?
Well, we can't stop without making reference to something that Jack Benny did that I don't think ever did other than on this show, which was to say something that caused the network censor to censor him, to bleep him.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious.
And they would never let Jack back on the Tonight Show. Oh, no, wait.
I think it ended his career.
Yeah, it did. He was a risk taker, that guy. Yeah. Yes, he definitely got bleeped out or whatever. And that's, you don't expect that from Jack Benny. I think you get to a certain age and you just kind of let it go and it just happens. And yeah. But I thought it was wonderful and it was fun to see that happen to Jack and Johnny's reactions are always great for anything like that. So fun stuff. John, anything else you want to point out about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed the whole thing. I could mention a couple of funny jokes, like he talks about being called the greatest comedian, which is kind of a setup that he does a number of times, and then he always changes the punchline to something different. And this time he's like, "Oh, you could say the top 5 comedians or top 2 comedians, and you're just conceited enough to know who that other comedian would be or whatever." Right?
I like that one too. I thought that was well done, and I noticed the exact same thing you've noticed because we're presenting these things chronologically, so you start to see that things sort of crop up, and he's going, "Oh, no one will remember that I mentioned that on Engelbert Humperdinck's show, and I talked about it over here on Jimmy Durante. I'll go ahead and say it on the Tonight Show." And no, and of course at the time it was months in between these things. They're shown once and they're gone. I don't think people would connect it all together. It's just we unnaturally see them back to back weeks, as we're presenting each week. And so I'm sure our audience too is going, "Hey, Jax just said that a week ago." But I do like the fact he changes a little bit each time. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you get to see how this joke sort of morphs over time. And sometimes you go, okay, that second time, that was when he came up with the best one, and the third one wasn't as good. But I get what he's doing. He's like, I presented it, I'll do it again. I'll do it slightly different. I do like this one with the whole Johnny Carson being conceited piece. That's a funny little piece to add in there. And Johnny's reaction is great too. Johnny, he's such a good audience. People always say how Jack is like the best audience ever. Well, yeah, but I think Johnny's no slouch himself, and I think if you're being funny, he's going to work and try and help you out any way he can to help you uh, be funnier and with his reactions and things. The guy has great timing himself and great reactions, and he always has. So.
Mhm. But it's also nice because that's also kind of a not a backhanded compliment, the opposite, a front-handed insult, where the insult is that he's conceited, but the implication is that Johnny is the number one comedian, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes, agreed, and which was very kind of him to say. And at this point in time, probably I would think pretty accurate. I mean, at least as far as popularity goes, and people experiencing him more than anybody else, because they were tuning in nightly at that point. And the Tonight Show at this point in time is the closest thing to appointment viewing or whatever that you're going to get, where people it was the water cooler show that you were talking about. Did you see Johnny last night? What happened? Whatever. And at this point, he was an hour and a half long. So I mean, you got a lot more Johnny, and he was appearing every night versus on Fridays not being on or whatever, like what happened for the last decade he was on or more.
mm-hmm.
Well, my friend Terry, when these were originally on and you were watching, did you watch the Tonight Show a lot and things? And
Yeah, it was. I mean, as often as I could, not every night, but
Right.
very, very often. And I don't remember if I've mentioned it to you all before, but I got to watch the Tonight Show being recorded, and I sat up in the control room. A friend of mine worked at NBC
cool.
Burbank, and I met Ed McMahon and got to chat with him before, and I saw Johnny Carson walk down the hall, and I almost stopped him to talk to him, but I realized that would be a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
So I never actually met the man, but yeah, I watched the show as often as I could. It had a big influence on my appreciation of entertainment and comedy. Yeah.
How old were you when you watched the show? I mean,
Well, I was born in 1953, so this show I was a senior in high school.
okay.
Obviously I didn't.
But I mean, the episode you saw live, what year was
The
that?
one I saw live was probably in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
Okay, so quite a bit later than these.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
70 or anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting time, and neat to see it when Johnny was still doing it and still in the 80s. He's still pretty much in his prime at that point and things. So
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah. And that's why I kept the set.
Yeah. He just stole it while he wasn't looking. So
That's right. That's right. I was not the one who broke his cigarette case, though.
No. I believe that was Don Rickles.
Don Rickles, that's right.
Famously wrecked the cigarette case. Because the whole thing, it just fell apart, didn't it? I mean, it was just this. I love it. And then there's that famous bit because Don Rickles was filming a show at the time, like right next door or something, and so they
PPO Shark.
Yeah, and pester him on that set, which is great. It's a great piece of history. But anyway, we'll let people enjoy this episode, and we'll see you for more Jack Benny appearances on various shows as we go on. And we're going to have a lot more of the Tonight Show as we go. I think from here on out, most of them will be the video and everything for the show. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Have a great week, everybody.